FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
The Last Song of Dusk is a love story set in 1920s India. And at the core of the book is a character called Nandini Hariharan, who is a very talented, cunning painter who decides to set her eyes on two very influential men in Bombay. One is the son of the governor of Bombay, and the other one is an Afghani painter, Khalil Murata, who she seduces out of his isolation and then abandons. But I'm going to read to you from her entrance at a party where she sees these two men, and this is her response. She's very glamorous and very cunning and very devious. And I'm going to read from her arrival at a party. It's womankind's capacity to accessorize, she told Radhamashi on their way to the Worthingtons, that separates us from the world of men and other animals. Because Nandini was sporting a fearlessly see-through sepia, off-shoulder evening dress, with an elegant, one might even say roguish train, she thought it basic courtesy to veil the succulent fruits of her flesh. For this reason alone, she had borrowed Roxanne Mistri's darling boa constrictor, Churchill, whom she had draped stylishly around her shoulders, so his flesh might cover her own. In response to her comment, Radhamashi only shrugged her shoulders. They boarded the rickshaw. The trip to Bar House near Charlotte Lake would take, in the overpowering darkness of Matharan, under half an hour. Through the entire journey, Radhamashi remained stoically silent. But just before Bar House, she pleaded, "Just let them down easy, please, for my sake, okay?" "Whom are you talking about?" Nandini asked innocently. "You know exactly what I mean." "I never meant to hurt you." She pressed Radhamashi's hand and vanished into the shindig. Nandini decided that she could do nothing about what Radhamashi had requested and chose to focus her energies on the evening instead. Taking one look at Bar House, Nandini was promptly enchanted by the 101 storm lanterns hanging from tree branches, by the manicured lawns, which Lady Worthington had ordered to be cut at precisely half an inch and no more, like at Windsor, and by the fleet of waiters flying around with platters of hors d'oeuvres, refilling chalices even before they were really empty. The same rakish clamour infected the guests. Toned, towering women provoked a fever with their backless dresses of wide, rambunctious hems that rose up to the slightest wind. Dissolute ballerinas with silver-string purses and ivory cigarette pipettes. The men in attendance were wholly consumable in their tidy custom-cut suits, bow ties, polished shoes, all strong arms and packed crotches, freeing at the slightest provocation, a depraved rolling laughter that suggested only how wonderful it might be to lie with them in a warm pool of perspiration that only their endless love-making might create. Barely had she walked under the regal stone arches covered with Ratrani creepers than Nandini saw a band strumming it from a sisal platform on the lawns. A little away from the heart of the gathering, the music instantly put a prance in her step. That ooh, touch me here and there and everywhere trumpet of New Orleans. Out of the corner of her eye, she spied Stella Dim, England's first ever tit girl, who was shacking up at the Bella Vista with Sudipto Bhattacharya, author of the international bestseller The Mating Habits of the Hindus, an updated version of the Kama Sutra, for which she had been awarded the prestigious Hooker Prize. "Do they ever get too heavy?" Nandini asked them with concern. Blonde and breathless, Stella Dim didn't look like a fallen woman, but merely one who couldn't be bothered to rise very much. "I have to air them now and then," she enlightened. "Otherwise, in this tropical heat, I fear they might shrivel up and drop. One's called Asia, the left one." The bosom was scarcely contained in the low cup of her mauve silk gown. "And the right one is Africa." She giggled when Nandini prodded them. May I know what sort of government you practice in such vast acres? Communism, naturally, Stella beamed. So everyone might get a share of what's not really theirs. And what's even better, oh, sorry about this, Stella said, but I've spotted a dear friend and I've been wanting to talk to him. We'll catch up, Stella, on politics over pudding. Having seen Percival Worthington momentarily alone, she slid up to him. As always, the son of the governor of Bombay looked like the most pathetic Etonian shipwreck showed up this side of the Atlantic. Well, well, congratulations, Percy. I'll bet all my canary yellow polka dot knickers you're hopped about the wedding. She winked. Yes, thanks. We're planning a reception at the Billington grounds. Does your boa bite at all? Never, she promised, her eyes widening. He merely swallows. He's a boa, remember? Ah, of course. Percival had never seen a snake used as a sartorial embellishment. Have you been long here in Mathuran? He said. A few weeks now, but I've been holed up indoors for the most part. Tied hands down to the painting, you know. Ah, brilliant. And what are you painting these days? He had heard about her artwork from Libya Das, among others. Heard it was all monsoon and misery. I'm afraid, Percy, I've been just so busy being painted that there's been scant time to do it myself. He looked puzzled. She sighed. Can I trust you with a secret? It's a cross your heart and hope to die kind of deal, Ducky. He nodded, an inch closer to her. She told him. You are his muse. Stumped that a 21-year-old hellcat of no proper pedigree might be the reason for someone of Khalil Murata's stature to emerge out of a self-imposed retirement, Percival's eyebrows rose up. Now what was she cooked from? He's done only 4, she said. Only 4. And you have to see them to believe them. The last 17 years of his lives are in every stroke. But he says he still needs a year to work on them, the finishing, I suppose. By the way, what does your fiancée Lucinda do? Lucinda? Percival Worthington was not too familiar with the woman he was going to marry. All he knew was that she had an annoying snigger, a large vanity case made of zebra skin, and a posterior that looked as if 2 gigantic astrolabes had been glued together. Lucinda does watercolors of the Lake District, the Sedborough Hills. And she crochets these cracking little cardigans. Crochet? Nandini said in an awed voice. Gosh, how exciting. It must keep her joints lubricated at all times. I guess it saves from rheumatism setting in too early. And she flexed and unflexed her fingers as if performing the commendable exercise his fiancée took on so valiantly.